Hey guys, welcome back. In this session, this is gonna be a little bit more of a session on how to use the Toposolid tool. So, this is something we haven't looked at yet, but if you are curious about it and how to get it into your drawing sets, I'm going to show you how to do that today. Let's just jump into it. It's Revit at some point erased. We used to have a topo surface, and that's basically the top side of the earth here. And then they'd have something called a building pad, which was really intuitive, I think, up until 2023, really great. The Toposolid has replaced this tool, which I am not a fan of, but it's what you got. So that's what we got in Revit here. I would say it's not the most intuitive of the tools, and I'll walk through a little bit of what we're going to do here to get our drawings looking a little bit more like the example here. So in the elevations, you might have noticed we have this hatching here of our earth, and in section here, we've also got this kind of hatching of the earth. I'm also going to touch on the kind of foundation pieces here. So just to get our drawings kind of up to snuff. And where else is this going to show up? I think that's it. Elevations in the sections. And a little bit, so here as well, where we kind of show this edge of the earth here around the building, just in case you're like, how did he get this? It's because I was using something called the Toposolid. So that all being said, let's jump into Revit here. I would say that the most complicated part here is what's called the in-place massing tool, which we haven't really touched. I know we did a little session in our virtual session last Monday on how to build conceptual masses. But that's not to be, let's give it a shot. You guys hit me with your questions if you get this far, and I hope you do because it's part of the assignment. But if you don't, I also understand it's pretty complicated. So let's jump in here with, let's draw some Toposolids. So really, this is kind of in 3D. This is our fun little piece of architecture in the woods here. We got our windows all organized now. We got our floors, our walls, our roof, all cool. All that's missing is a little bit of an outdoors space, right? So we are, of course, putting... There would be a site here, and I'm going to do a very, very, very simple site for us, just so that you guys could get familiar with how to use this Toposolid. We're going to build a little veranda in front here, probably in the next session, but let's just go ahead and we're going to build the Toposolid itself. So the Toposolid is not in the architecture tab. It's going to be in the massing and site tab. And before you just jump into Toposolid here, we're actually going to come over here and use the Toposolid dropdown from Sketch. So what's nice about Revit is if you did have an import here, we're not going to do this today, but if you did have an import, it will actually generate a kind of three-dimensional geometry for us from a sketch. For right now, from a CAD drawing. We're going to do it from a sketch now. We'll keep it nice and simple. I'm just going to create a little space around the cottage that's going to act as the quote-unquote earth. And the first thing you're going to want to do is, in my case, I've already generated this, but you guys should have what's called a generic 1000 millimeter Toposolid. So this is really the default, and it is essentially a Toposolid family. It's a solid bit of earth is probably the simplest way to say it. So for us, what I'd like to do, though, is we'll make it a little bit deeper. So I've gone ahead and made a 4000 millimeter one. So we'll do 5000. So I'm going to duplicate this type, generic 5000 hit OK. We're going to edit the type in here, much like our walls, make this 5000, hit OK, and hit OK again. And if we're still inside the Toposolid tool, but this is it's 5000 millimeters deep. So oh, that's interesting. That's why that's happening. Okay, so even as I go here, this is a relatively new tool. I am not a fan of it. The old version was much simpler to just get our houses onto a site. But that being said, this is a tool we are given, and what I'm going to do now is you can either do it in the 3D view or you can do it in your plan. I'm just going to draw us out a little bit of land, as it were. So this is our kind of zone of influence here. Let's make sure we've got, I'm going to move it up to the main floor level, and I'm actually going to offset it by -450, which is going to give us roughly 3 steps up. We'll get to that when we do the stairs. So looks good. We've just got this little extrusion here, this little piece of rectangular or square land. So of course this is just for fun for now. And this is what I've got in the assignment, but just to familiarize us with using this Toposolid tool. If I hit check mark here, it should, I'm going to hit don't attach, it should generate just a little piece of land. You know, we got a little piece of land and our house is sitting on top of it. So that's all seemingly good. So I've been experimenting a little bit with the best way to do this, but what we need to do now, if I jump to a section view, which we should have, our building section here, you can see that the earth is now inhabiting our basement. So I've been trying really hard, like what the best tool is here to get the hole into our site, right? So really the old version of this was what was called a building pad, and you would kind of say, okay, this is the building pad, and Revit would figure out where to put the hole for your basement. And so in this case, we have what's called the, if I click on the Toposolid, we have something called excavate, which I've been messing around with a little bit. If I click this and then click my floor slab, it will excavate, but you see here that I can't actually manipulate the edge of where that excavation takes place. So I thought maybe if I went back to 3D and I kind of looked at the, what is this? Modify subelements here, that I would have something to touch. But in fact, it's useless. So that excavate tool isn't the most helpful thing. So I'm just going to reset the shape, make it flat, have it cut through our basement, and we're going to use a slightly different tool. Right, it didn't even, I'm going to unexcavate that. So I'm going to just undo. Okay, we're all the way back. I've just created this 5 meter deep Toposolid in a generic way. And yeah, so I tried a couple different ways to get this to work. For now, the simplest thing, which seems bananas to me, but is to create a in-place mass and then actually cut that mass out of the Toposolid. I know that's a lot of words. A mass is essentially, think of it like a 3D extrusion for our purposes right now that we're actually going to use as a cutting tool into the Toposolid itself. And why don't we go ahead and we'll get into that. So you might be wondering, oh, I could just use the Toposolid tool. I could just use the Toposolid create from sketch again. Now we're going to do a place mass, in place mass, not place mass. So in place mass, doesn't matter what you call it mass 1. And I'm actually going to go to the basement level, because what I want to do is I'm actually going to trace the outside of my building. So where do I actually want to place this little extrusion? Well, I need to get it so that it cuts at the edge of my building. And in this case, that's all the way to the extrusion of the insulation line. So make sure you capture that when you do your little mass here. And what should happen now is if I just hit, let's go to 3D here for a second. Where did it go? There it is. So we've got my rectangle around here. I'm going to do a little create form, and I'm going to create a solid form. So what this does is, much like a Play-Doh, we're going to extrude that profile up. So I got to make sure that it's selected here. So create form, solid form. And now I've got a wonderful little, you can't really see it. What if I lift it up? There you go. So I've got this rectangular prism as it is. So this is where I want to cut into my mass. So rather my Toposolid. So again, what was a very simple tool is now a very advanced function, I would say, because you got to know about masses, you got to know about Toposolids, you got to know how about they go together in cutting geometry. But this is where we are. So you're going to go ahead and hit that finish mass button. And now we have this mass hanging out. You can modify this as we need to. So it should appear, if I go to my basement here, I could see that I've got it all the way to the edge. That's looking good, right? If I go to my section, not quite right. So I actually have to drag this little tag down. And actually, you know what? I'll show you this. So let's leave it up like that for now. And but the mass is here, hanging out, doing its thing. And now what we have to do is that we're going to cut that mass from the Toposolid. So you can see the Toposolid here, see my mass here. What do I want to do? I want to cut this mass into the Toposolid. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to select the Toposolid, hit cut, grab the mass, hit cut, grab the Toposolid. And now, reverse, excuse me. let's do that all over again. So we actually have to, when we go to the cut command, hit cut, and it's going to say, what's the element you want to cut? Well, we're going to cut the toposolid. What would you like to use to do the cutting? Well, we want to use this mass. So we're going to click the mass. And now, if I jump to my building section, I should see that everything is kind of cutting here. So we are missing the kind of basement slab. So I'm actually going to drag, you see there's a very small triangle here. I can drag this down, and now we're cutting through the whole building. Looking good. Let's go to 3D here. Everything's looking all right. So in fact, just drag that up. And so this is really what's making up our cutting plane, or a cutting volume, for lack of a better word, of our toposolid. So that should help us get a little bit further. If we go to our basement level here, so our main floor, I wonder, modify, and oh, I see. So I've already got my my mass in here, so apologies for that. I had a previous mass option there. I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So in fact, I'm going to undo all that. So if you do see that you've got this mass in here, so we could also turn the masses off. So this is something that does happen. So it's now going to show up in all of our views, and you'll see, because we got this little, see, everything is gray now. What we want to do is we want to go ahead and we'll turn off the mass here. Remember, visibility graphics, we're going to go into a view, visibility graphics, look for, it's a model category. We're going to look for masses. Oh, it is off. Okay, why is it showing on then? It is currently off. That is a mass. Interesting. So, okay, so for now, I'm just going to right click and hit hide. What happens if I delete it? Hold on, let's see this. Nope. Yeah, it's going to come back. It's going to make me do that. So that is interesting. How do I turn off the mass, which is clearly on? Can I, massing in sight, show, here, let's do it this way. I am just trying to turn off the masses now, guys. I'm not sure why it's showing at all. I am not in a massing tool. Interesting. So again, I'm faced with, this is a very advanced function for our purposes. I just want to turn off this mass. I'm not sure why it's not turning off. Why are you doing this to me, you stupid machine? Mass floors, I don't want to do that. Well, best case here, I am actually just going to hide it in our views, which is totally not what you're supposed to do. But for right now, this is my best bet. I'm not sure why that's not turning off or on. It should just turn off. It's not on in any of the views. Might just be a Revit bug, which does happen sometimes, but is obviously going to make me lose my mind. So why is this happening? Anywho, so we should, I don't want to see this though. How do I just hide this? So I'm going to go all the way back. Maybe I've done something wrong here. I'm going to go all the way back. All the way back to our wonderful little, do I have my massing yet? I don't think that I do. Let's see. I'm going to go all the way back here. Let's see if I've got my show massing by view settings. Oh, that's what it is. Oh, what a goof. That's exactly what it is. I had the wrong setting on. Now I see what I did wrong. Well, guys, hopefully we'll learn something together here. And what I'm going to do now is do that same in-place mass here. Mass 1, go to my basement plan, grab my little rectangle tool, go all the way to the outside of my building here, all the way across. And we're going to do a little create form here, solid form from the basement level. That looks good. Let's go to 3D here and solid form. And now we're all the way up, and we should see, let's see what it looks like in building section. I see. It's up too high. That's okay. Let's just finish the mass, and we can actually drag this all the way down. So, I got two on. What's happening here? Delete this one. And come all the way down. Right. Well, looks like I got to redo all that again. One last time. Let's just for fun. Let's do one last time here. We're going to do an in-place mass, mass 1, and we will create a little rectangle of where we want that mass to be. Make sure we've selected level basement. That looks good. Visibility's on. I'm going to create a form, solid form, and I'm going to go to my building section, see where we're at, finish the mass. Make sure we've dragged this all the way down. Really, it's fine. We just want to cut this, we want to cut the Toposolid, so let's do that. We'll grab the Toposolid. That's the thing we want to cut. And then we're going to grab the mass. So I can't see the mass in this view. So in fact, what I'd like to do is grab the mass and pull it all the way up so I could see it in 3D so you guys can see what I'm up to here. And let's try this again. Cut one, and then cut using the mass. So we should see a little line emerge, right? So this looks pretty good. And now we're going to jump back into our view here. So I thought it was in the visibility graphics. It's in fact going to be massing in sight here, and we're going to go show mass by view settings. So simple, such a simple thing to miss. But so show mass forms and floors. We want show mass by view settings, which of course it's turned off. That was my bad. So now everything should look the part. Let's jump to our basement here. Nice. Jump to our building section. Looking pretty good. So if I go back to my 3D view here, first thing you'll notice is I've actually turned off the Toposolid in my basement view. I found it kind of irritating, but in section, it does show up. So let's just check that real quick. So sections and the elevations. So let's go ahead and let's look at our elevations that we've already set up. And you should see something like this. So I'm going to jump to my sheet here, my 201, my 202. Let's go to 201. We've got, you can see here, we've got our, nice little piece of floor, right? Or a nice little piece of grading topo surface has been generated. So good to go there. Maybe we want to create a little bit more here. Crop region visible. It's looking a little tight. Maybe just drop that down just a touch. And let's check our section view. We come over to our sections, the A202 sheet, and we should see something like this. So what does that show up like in our example? Let's jump to the next page here. Pretty close. What are we missing? Well, there's a couple things. The first thing I notice is that we probably want to tie together our floors. So the floor should tie into the wall here, and then we'll create a little foundation for ourselves. How are we doing on time? 18 minutes. That's on me, though. We had to do that 3 times there for that little mass, so here we go. So what do we want to do? We probably want to join these things together. So let's try that. I'm going to join. Come over to the Modify tab. Join my wall to my floor. Look at that. Nice and tidy. Is that about right? It's looking good. And now the last thing. What are you doing here? Oh, I see. I want to drag this down just a touch. Make sure we drag this down just a touch. Looking good. And now I'm actually going to place these little foundation pieces here. I think the best place to do that is maybe it's here. Let's see what we got here. So come over to the architecture tab. We're going to look for the foundations. I gotta remember where these are. Where's my handy dandy? It might actually be in structure here. Foundation. We got a wall foundation here, standard. And I'm just going to populate it here with, let's see what we got. Blam, blam. Real quick, I know I did that pretty quickly. So structure, we've got a wall foundation, and I'm just using the standard one. It's going to give us a 750 by 275 thickness. That's fine. Just grab the wall, and it's going to give us exactly what we need. So you might notice, you're like, well, what the hell? Now, of course, my stupid topography is still not cutting out of this. You would think there would be some intuition here. Surely there's not. So we're going to jump back over here to the modify, and we're going to actually cut using this. Yeah, I know it is. Oh, goodness gracious. So I think I could do this. If it doesn't let me do this, we'll have to find a workaround. First things first, let's... Oh, I see they're joined. Right. Okay. So this isn't quite looking how I want it to look. I actually think that I'm going to unjoin these, and we'll fix that up, because I think that I want my concrete to sit on my foundation, which of course makes sense, but Revit isn't quite as smart as everybody in this class. So first things first, I want to cut this out, but it doesn't look like it's going to let me. So let's see what we got. We're going to cut, select element to be cut. So I want to cut this using this. Aha! Okay, it will let me do that. Nice. Okay, so that's step one. Starting to look the part here. I am, in fact, going to unjoin this. I feel like this is, I'm going to unjoin these two things, and we're going to do this slightly differently. I'm actually going to try and get it to look a little bit more the part here. So why don't we try that? Interesting. Okay, let's try and do this. So in fact, I really thought this was just going to be simple. What happens if I join it now? Can I cut? I wonder if I can cut it. I think I'm going to have to join it. Let's just join it again. Still not doing what I want it to do. Why is this? I wonder if I've got this set up wrong. Let's check this out. Bum, 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 bum. No, rigid insulation layer 3. That looks good. My wall type should be... one and one. So it looks good. I wonder why it's not doing what I want it to do. Go back to the floor here. Maybe I can get it to not wrap. Let's try this one thing real quick here. Let's see if we can get our rigid insulation. Oh, I don't even have wraps on. Not trim. Join. This should work. I don't know why this isn't working. Join. You stupid Revit. Sometimes it doesn't do the thing that we want it to do, and it can be extremely frustrating. Obviously, I want the concrete to go all the way down, but it's trying its best to wrap around to meet the other insulation line, right? So you can see here that it's wrapping, but in fact, I don't want it to wrap. I want it to cut short. So I wonder if I can do it this way. Might have to jump to our basement view here, and let's try this real quick. I'm going to modify the line here to be the inside face of concrete. This seems totally ridiculous, but let's try this way. I know I did it in the example. I just can't imagine myself going to this much trouble to make this line up properly. So hit that little check mark here. Let's go back to our section and see what we get. And that's actually probably what I did. Wonderful. So pretty bonkers that you got to do that, but Revit is still, even though it's 20 years old, still in its infancy when it comes to really simple things like having your concrete get tied together. So that's looking the part. That's what we want. If we jump to the elevations and section view, it should read something like that. Looking pretty good. That's the section view with our Toposolids. So if we just double check our 201s here, looks good. How's 202 looking? Looking pretty good. Let's check the example. Make sure everything is looking the part. So I gave myself a little bit more earth here, but it's up to you how much earth you want to show. This is really just to convey what's going on beyond and make sure we got a nice little view here. Now, one thing I did notice, my door is the wrong door. Let's make sure I got the right door in there. I got this wonderful door that I downloaded from Blackboard. So let's do that real quick. Insert, load family. Where's my door? Which one do I got? Aha. So a single 14 in here. Open it up. Let's grab this, look for 14, and we should, what's a good door here? Let's do that one. Nice. Am I folding the right way? Oh, shoot. I messed that up. I think that's good. I think that's good. I can't remember what I did in the example. But for now, Toposolids, really frustrating, for your first time. I apologize for that. But I do think that it's a good tool just to get familiar with. I've skipped the kind of window wells here, but that's okay. It doesn't really show up anywhere. If I do jump to the cover page, though, let's do that real quick and make sure that we've got something that looks the part. Jump to the cover page. Aha! So what I'm going to do here is, because I've done this this way, I'm actually going to turn off my section box. And now, instead, I'm going to turn on crop region visible and crop view. And let's just crop that down. We'll crop it down here, crop it down here, crop it down on this side. And now you could see I'm just fitting within here. So you can see here there's this edge. If you're really persnickety, you can, of course, jump to our main floor plan view. And what we could do is actually edit the sketch of our Toposolid. Oh, it's pretty generous. We can move that loop line out, and we should hit that check mark. Don't attach. Nothing should have changed except for now we don't have that nice little that little thing. Nice little line. Anywho, that's it. That is our Toposolid tutorial. I hope that was pretty straightforward, and I did a little bit on the basement foundation there, so I hope that was helpful. Real quick, I don't want that. Escape. Thank you for tuning in, and criticism's welcome as always. What we could do is, I didn't save it. Of course, I didn't save it, so that's fine. Yeah. Anywho, so that is how we get our little Toposolid in there. And next up, we will do our little front entryway, our little veranda, as it were, on the outside of the building, in case you missed it. And it would be good to get it into the drawing set. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.